Here's the thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, you're doing it.
Good day, how you doing? We are back, we're doing it again. We're still trying to figure out the right name, but for right now, we're calling it Nothing But the Facts. I'm putting it down with my brothers right here. You know your man, Franklyn G, Student Furley, F to the Jizzle, just plain old Franklin Furley. We're always pleased to try to connect you to the larger black diaspora through black, intelligent talk radio. I got my brothers in the house, Mr. Ramon Savoy, Crazy D, CeeMo on the end, intergenerational programming. I guess we ought to kick it off on this beautiful Friday right here in March. It looks like all the basketball tournaments are trying to head towards the NC2A, but we got other fights going on in the community, so we'll get right into it.
Yeah, speaking of the NC2A, you know, Isaiah Thomas said that it's like a slave. It's like slavery. The NC2A.
Well, they don't get paid.
Isaiah Thomas said it's set up and structured just like slavery.
Well, they just came out with the highest amount of revenue they've ever had. They went over the $1 billion mark.
Billion?
Yes, with a B.
B.
So they're making large sums of money.
Meaning the schools and the institutions, not the players or not so much the coaches, but definitely not the players. But wouldn't you say that the trade-off is the free education and all the notoriety they receive?
Give me a break.
I mean, free education?
I could buy it if you pay me. Hey,
I mean, do you think that athletes should be paid now? Do you think?
I think they should be compensated for sure. For sure, definitely compensated. If their team goes into where they're making money in these bowl games and things of that nature, yes, they should get some type of financial contribution, not just in the form of a scholarship, but a student stipend for the entire team, not based on players or who. If you're on the team and we go to a bowl game, everybody get the same check.
But they still get money from the video games where they
are they
taking. No, not the students. But the school's still making money from off video.
But the guy
games.
from UNLV, the white guy who started all this, they used his likeness, who sued them.
He wasn't a white guy.
Was it a white guy? It was a black guy? That's why I'm putting out there. That's why he didn't get no money. That's what I'm saying. But as you look at that, is it different than slavery? Yeah, because they're not getting whipped. They're not selling them. The players have their own right to enter into contracts, so to speak, by accepting these scholarships.
They do have to stand on the block. They check their teeth. They check their nutsack, cough. They go how much muscle to fat ratio they have. It's just like slavery.
So what about the NFL where they have the combines and they actually line them up?
But at least they're getting paid. They're the $40 million slave, right?
But they're asking if your mama was a prostitute. now,
but was she still through my windows on Saturday?
We need to go and check that out, man. When you start asking about somebody's personal life and their mama, and then ask them, does she work for a living? Is she a prostitute? That's what you came at me with? Is she a prostitute? That's sad.
No, so the argument is that the other sports, like football and basketball, yes, but they say the other sports in college, mostly the female sports, and baseball, they don't generate the dollars. So do we say, let's not worry about those sports and let's just deal with the sports that generate money for colleges, that those athletes should be compensated?
Well, that's what the revenue that comes is enough that they could split and also take some for the college to fund other programs, but still have enough to compensate the athletes. And don't get me wrong, I know women's swimming isn't popular, so to speak, when you think about football, basketball, baseball, but at the same time, if they're generating revenue for the school, that's where those funds can be generated to. Because what's the prop that they have that all schools got to get paid the kind of same that California instituted based on women athletes?
Well, students are already being paid because you get stipends. They
don't get stipend.
No, not the athletes. I'm saying that there's other students. When you go to a college, you can work in the cafeteria.
Right, you can be a tutor.
You're going to get paid for your services.
Right, but that's work study.
But at the same time, they should just allow the same.
Correct. I believe that.
Money flow to be given to them. I'm not saying
pay them all minimum wage.
They're not supposed to get no $1 million and so forth like coaches, but they should be getting money where they don't have to be having their parents getting money under the table and so forth.
Well, even to expound on these,
CeeMo. Aren't the athletes supposed to just be happy that they're at a college where they're being shown on TV? Shouldn't they just be happy that they're there playing the sport? Shouldn't they just be happy? They shouldn't be asking for anything else. Just be happy.
To an extent, because you still got to eat at the end of the day. And I understand. I know a friend who also got sponsors. He was a track runner, and he got sponsors. So that's another.
Oh, what do you mean you got sponsors? You can't have no sponsors.
Women. He got sponsors.
You can't get no money like that.
Yeah, true.
So he gets to eat all the Burger King he wants.
If they give you free.
So they're called boosters, and what they do is they bring you to your house and they give you dinner and maybe buy you a suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the next event that you're coming up on.
You got to be careful of that because it eliminates your eligibility as an amateur athlete.
What about the athletes that play overseas and get paid for that, for playing ball overseas?
That's a job to them.
But they're not college.
Because I think basically we're talking a lot about the basketball in particular because of the one and done.
But it should be.
Where you have to, where players are not really going to school for an education, they go in there so they can be ready and prepared to go into the NBA.
So you're talking about the whole Kentucky program. That's the whole Kentucky program.
I think as a person, when you're 18 or 17, when you come out of high school, if a scout and a general manager thinks you're good enough to play in the pros, then somebody shouldn't tell me that you can't do that because you have to be 1 year out of school before you can come into the pros. That's discrimination. That's job discrimination.
But that one and done might be over because the NBA is getting ready to reverse their rule and getting ready to let high school players back in, and now the college coaches are worried about that. They may not get the best talent. But should they though? Because these people are coming from situations where they want to get their mother out the neighborhood, they want to get their family out the neighborhood, and they want to go to the pros. Like LeBron. Look, did that hurt LeBron? Did it hurt LeBron?
But for every LeBron, there's 20,000 that didn't make it, that came out early.
At least.
That's what you have to look at, the give and take. But now smaller institutions, a lot of those players, they stay there 4 years or 3 years. They're not the one and done. The one and done is Kentucky, Louisville, Duke, so forth. So even Coach Krzyzewski has said he don't think there's ever going to be another player where he has that's going to do 4 years with him. So when you look at that in the scheme of things, because he's one of the highest paid coaches out there, he makes $20 million, and that's without even endorsements.
What about the guy who just brought up on all the charges? We almost brought him here to fit into the UNLV program, Patino. All kind of violations. These guys are overseas. They need to be redressed. We need to think about it from that point of view.
Well, it all comes down to money. So however you want to look at it, it's Daddy Warbucks and who's got it.
So do we agree that the athletes should be compensated?
I feel certainly that athletes should be compensated more than what they're being compensated when you're saying that they're getting an education.
Because
they don't even go to class.
No, but it is a job.
How are you getting a proper education?
Are we going to stereotype all the athletes?
Well, I'm going to stereotype to the extent that they're not the most brilliant individuals.
What would you know? Whoa, what would you say to the Stanford players?
I said they're not.
Or the Harvard players?
That is.
But one thing happens on the teams, they always make sure, as you would know, that you're great.
They got trainers.
Well, you have trainers, you have tutors. You have tutors, though. You have tutors. You have people who will tutor you during the course.
And do your papers. Yes, I understand.
Well, I didn't say do the papers. Because they didn't have cut and paste in my day. They didn't have cut and paste. You had to type it out.
The video. Yeah, let's have them do video cam while they're doing their work being tutored. Playing video games. And I said, yes.
But the college athlete is a job.
It's like Franklin, but it's also like Franklin said. They have, when they go off to college, they associate with certain groups of people.
Right.
And most likely it's someone with blonde hair, blue eyes, typing up their papers more.
Are you stereotyping? You like when even the sisters don't get a play?
Well, they're usually not in the work study program, so they're not the ones tutoring. But there's so many ways athletes get money under the table. I mean, what happens is the coach will give you some tickets, and he'll say, go meet this individual, and you go have dinner with them, and then you give that person the tickets, and then that person gives you a monetary compensation for those tickets.
You did college, you played college sports? Or from inside information on this? How it goes down.
The Fifth Amendment applies in both cases.
I've heard about the envelopes that slipping through the window in the car, and all of a sudden there was an envelope on the front seat.
Now wait a minute, the best job to have, right?
Is?
If you're on any college campus, is to be part of the field operations team where you may mow the lawn
Mow
or
the
you
lawn, exactly.
No, but you don't mow the lawn. Yeah, you may be responsible for the water schedule. You're supposed to make sure the water comes on every day at 9 o'clock. You know there's an irrigator that does that. You don't even do the trash in the men's room and the locker room.
Everybody cuts the corners, but going back to what Crazy D said, they should be compensated more. I
sure,
feel,
agreed.
especially when you look at the pie and how it's getting cut up, it's not even they get a piece of the pie. They ain't even getting the crumbs. They got to share with the mouse.
But you gotta look at it this way also. Remember, a lot of our black athletes early in the day, the Oscar Robinsons and those who, even though they went to some big schools.
Can't compare.
But still, here it is. That's what happened to the black college basketball players. They started going to larger schools, so it killed the HBCU circuit of college players. That's why black athletes now won't go to, not saying won't go, but if they have a chance to go to a larger school as opposed to going to an HBCU school, they go to a larger school. The same thing happens in a lot of different sports with athletes. We're not going to Morehouse. Not that Morehouse ever had great teams. Sorry about that. We're not even going to FAMU anymore.
Not going to Howard?
Not going to Howard. Not if you
Howard
have,
just came here and won.
they that's
They
super.
don't
That's
even
you
go
know
to
what that was,
Georgetown
right?
no more. They don't even go to Georgetown no more.
That's what I'm saying. And even when Howard came here and won, that was the greatest upset of sports history. A 41-point underdog
And-
actually won.
And I was there to see.
So was I.
And
I got a
covered.
ticket at home.
It
I'm a
was
frame.
amazing.
Now you're looking at you're looking at the time span when you said Oscar Robertson and so forth. What about somebody like Jesse Owens representing his college? How he was treated even after he came back from Berlin and winning all his medals, and then he became janitor at Ohio State.
That was a good job for a black man.
No
back
way,
then.
no way.
Well, it beats him racing the horses that he did at Thistledown
Well, at
Racetrack
least
in
he didn't
Cleveland
become
too.
an alcoholic like John Thorpe.
You mean Jim Thorpe,
Jim Thorpe.
the Indian?
yeah.
But he was traumatic injuries, and he was racism, sexism, and Indians shouldn't drink. So
They didn't have opiates. They didn't have opiates back then. You saying?
no, they had alcohol.
Yay.
Original. But even if you look at what happens in sports now, as I said, major colleges will start to feel what the black community has felt in terms of the erosion of our college athletes, where they used to go to these schools. You had Earl the Pearl. You had all those great coaches. What was the short guy from San Antonio who was the coach? Became a coach.
He's at Texas now.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, they went to black schools, and that's where they came from. Even the greatest traditions. Nobody talks about the guy from Grambling anymore. We don't even know his name.
Well, you can look at the
Doug
football.
Williams?
Before Doug Williams.
The football, you
Who was the
look at
great
football.
coach at Grambling before? Where the HBCU guys at? I know they know. The greatest coach of all time.
We have all these HBCU universities. However, the best black athletes do not go to play there because they don't feel that their skills can be sharpened enough to be ready for the pros.
Hey, all
and
I
that's
know
what
is
you have to
it
look
could
at.
have fooled me because when Howard came out and they had plenty of black players on the Rebels side, they had the Rebel mascot, the slave owner riding his horse.
You mean General
all around.
Beauregard?
and they came in and they beat that team. And they had plenty of black players. So I don't know if that's necessarily true. But speaking of a Howard alumni, Chadwick Boseman.
Are we back to the Panther?
Yeah, we got to go.
Oh,
We got to
man.
revisit it one more time.
Let me
Because
Carolina,
he
are we
was
gonna
at-
talk about the Carolina
Wait a minute,
Panthers?
wait a minute.
Can we talk about the Carolina? What's
they
the
might be
quarterback?
black on one
What's the
day, but
quarterback?
we
What's the
talking about the
quarterback?
Black Panthers.
What's the quarterback?
No.
What's it? Newton?
Newton.
Yeah, we can talk about those Panthers.
Yeah, well, he ain't
They
a
might
good
be
dresser.
black owned if Puffy can get it, but we're talking about the Black Panther right now. But
The $1 billion Panther.
wait, listen. He was at the Apollo last week, March 1st.
So was James Brown.
And, yeah, sure was. And he sat up
He used to
there.
have lines going around the block for James Brown.
And Temptations
Hey,
too.
no, I-
Avenue,
wait a minute.
Lennox Avenue.
Wait.
You would be
I
down
think
the
there were
Lexington
lines
Avenue.
going around to see Chadwick Boseman.
Okay.
Did they make a
But
billion yet? Did they make a billion?
yeah,
The clock is on. It's close.
Not just that the message.
900.
It's close. By the time this
On the
airs-
15th, it goes. It opens up in China, Japan.
Right.
No, it hasn't opened up in a large market yet in China.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, it's close. Okay.
But he says that when he read the script
Mhm.
and he went through it, that actually, I call him T'Chaka.
All right.
T'Challa
Oh,
was
boy.
actually the villain of the film, and that Killmonger is actually the hero for African Americans, and that T'Challa had to go through Killmonger for African American audience to appreciate the Black Panther. What do we think?
Franklin, you gotta speak up. I haven't seen the movie.
Hey, that makes two.
What?
No.
They're not really black. Give me your card back. Give me that card. Give me that card.
Well,
I
tell
didn't
me,
say
did you go see Marshall? Did you go see Marshall?
No, I didn't.
See there? That's what I'm
Now
talking about.
listen.
I'm talking about.
Listen. Our black history on
Not the
film and you
original.
didn't see it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Wakanda.
That's not history. That's not history.
I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna run and see something like that and talk about it. It's beautiful. And youngsters got it. People went and support black businesses. They got dashiki and African garb. Beautiful. I have no argument
That's
with
a
that.
plus,
But
right?
at the same time, when we have our children, when you're talking about raising money to take children to see
A
something,
kid's film.
then they need to also be raising money for black films directly. Even things that's in production. Why not raise money to help Spike Lee, the Hudson brothers, and your man?
Andy Horn.
There you go.
Working on the Bobby
Do
Brown
these things,
project.
do these things that can show them really getting and being part of the whole picture and not just the back end of it.
I think the biggest thing that we had before this was X. Everyone was walking around with the X t-shirts, the X hats.
Yeah, but most of the kids, they don't remember that. They were the Wakanda
that's
generation
the time,
now.
so this is new. This is stepping into the next thing. But what do you think about what he said about Killmonger actually
Well,
being the hero?
Killmonger will be back. Okay, that's the first
a
thing.
Scoop? Is that a scoop?
Come on, you got to know more. First, I'm gonna blow y'all all out. I'm gonna blow y'all out. You know, I wrote a piece this month in the Urban Voice, and I talked about the Black Panther. If you want to get the Urban Voice, go to urbanvoice.com. Go check it out. It's a publication we here have in Las Vegas, and I try to always provide critical analysis, because you know, everything that is really creative or most creation things come out of dissent. Somebody said something against it. So here we go. You ready? Black Panther. Black Panther's going to be white.
So be a black white Panther?
Yeah, what?
Black.
No, you're not talking
with a
about
mask.
Bucky.
So now wait a
Black
minute.
talking about Bucky
Panther
at
is
the
going to
end.
be white.
So you mean they put a mask? You could be white underneath the mask?
Black Panther, black people, you saw it. If you
heard
stayed
about
to the
black
end of the
face?
movies.
We heard about
That
black
was
face.
Bucky.
Okay,
We
so
heard
what
about
happened?
black
What happened to
face,
Bucky? What happened to Bucky?
That's Bucky from
Captain America.
Captain America.
Who was Captain America's
who was
friend.
White Wolf.
Oh, yeah, I
They
thought
gave
that was
White
her-
Wolf, right?
Okay.
So what happened? Wait a minute. You saw him in Wakanda. Why was he in Wakanda? At the end of the film, y'all. Come on, black people.
Is this the one who
Don't
took the
you
Wait a
think
minute,
that's
wait a minute.
for Infinity War? Avengers?
That's for Infinity War.
Wait. How did he get
sequel?
there?
The sequel?
How did he get there?
Another one.
He got there because he got injured, right? I'm believing Captain America and he had a
They
fallout.
did.
His
And they
arm
got
was
him.
torn off.
Right.
Right.
Okay, wait, hear me.
You and Andy Horn, y'all was talking
No, but wait a minute. I do some reading too. So,
Right?
but this is the future. I'm working with Marvel. So here he is. The last scene you saw was Bucky walking off with Wakanda's sister. I mean, what's her name? Wakanda's sister?
Bucky was getting the piece. Bucky was getting ready to hit. He was getting ready to smash.
Shuri.
He was getting ready to
She
smash.
saved him, right? Because they brought him there damaged.
Well, he said another white boy to save, remember?
Wait. So he goes to Wakanda. He gets some of the secret purple liquid from the flowers that Killmonger set on fire. That's how they recuperated him and brought him back to strength. Because he was injured by Captain America. He lost his arm. So the sister, in trying to help him.
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Here we go. Because
okay.
in Iron Man, first Iron Man was Tony Stark, the white dude.
Yeah.
Then he became what should have been what was the actor?
Robert Downey.
Not Robert Downey. It should have been Terrence Howard, but he quit the role.
That's
and,
right.
And then they gave it to what's the short black guy name? I forgot his name.
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle donned the suit. Thus becoming, he was a warmonger. But he still got the suit. So here it is. Let's go back. The last thing you saw was Bucky. Bucky was damaged. They gave him some stuff to heal himself. Now he's walking with the chick and he's learning the lay of the land of Wakanda. At some point, because all you have to really do is don the suit that she incorporated into the dialogue already. So let's say he gets recuperated, he gets healed, she shows him around. At some point, he gets access to the suit.
Okay,
and you saw once he tapped it, it goes, shh, it covers his head and everything, so they wouldn't know who the Black Panther is.
He's going to be a one-armed Black Panther.
No, because she's going to make a prosthetic
That's like the
arm for
one-armed
him.
man.
She's going to make a prosthetic arm for
What was
him.
that show? What was that show
They
about
did the same thing.
one-armed man?
Marvel, same thing. They did the same thing. Remember Superman? Then they had the Dark Superman. Remember Spider-Man? Then they had the Dark Spider-Man. Batman? Dark Batman.
The sister will be Panther.
Here you hear it first. Another Franklyn prediction. T'Challa will be Opie Taylor. And y'all are going to love it. And then what you going to do? Talking about that's black history. It's not black history. It's a comic book. Look at Carter G. Woodson. Let's take it historically. Carter G. Woodson's whole life, he was a historian. So what I'm trying to put forth is he specialized and he made his collection of African-American works and collections, historical things. Things that were to give us cultural pride, things that would allow white people to hopefully feel less agitated about being black, towards black people when they realize all of the achievements that African Americans have made, not just in this great country, but on the continent and throughout the world.
Is it not a history to have the waterfall scene and all African diaspora from all over the world, and they put on Snoop?
No.
And he went,
yeah, right. Like the Greek. Come on.
And
come
she
on.
said, and she,
come on.
And she, and his love interest said that was the greatest sign of Pan-Afrikanism that they had ever seen. The Snoop record playing, and all of them started. Not the Snoop player would play. The drum started playing the drum track, and then everybody started going, ooh. Right. He said that was the greatest example of Pan-Afrikanism ever expressed in the whole world. Up to the, well, I'm adding that, but up to this time. No,
that's for those who are short-sighted enough. The greatest Pan-Africanist movements we'd have to look at, even in our own time. Million Man March was a great day. Even Marcus Garvey and his things that he did back in his day. Anytime black people get together, it's a Pan-African thing.
Marcus Garvey, discredited by the federal government, and we as a people have not recovered from that since. The man who brought us black vows, black pride, red, black, and green, brought us a chance to possibly travel back and forth to Africa with our own black star line. Once they discredited him, now...
Who said they discredited him?
They discredited him by saying that he had fraud because...
Tax evasion over a $25 inconvenience that wouldn't have befallen anybody else.
It was still... They discredited him in the eyes of black people, and we haven't recovered, and that's why I believe that black people don't necessarily trust each other today. Speaking of another person,
there you go, good segue.
That's being
under fire.
That's being just put under fire, and who everyone is trying to discredit because he spoke against the arch old enemy of the black community. Now everyone's speaking against him. Louis Farrakhan. Now in his twilight, everyone wants to come down on him, even black people.
Well, black people are youth.
Let me add this, and then we can talk. Isn't that a syndrome that comes from the discrediting of Marcus Garvey?
You had, even when slaves were supposed to be free, they still didn't want to leave the plantation because that's all they knew. All they knew was how to be a slave. They didn't know how to be a free person. So when you look at that mindset that has been generational, passed down, then naturally these things are going to take place. But at some time and point, it has to be a stop. You know, when something has momentum, if you want to change, you got to stop the momentum to freeze it, to go in that other direction that you're speaking about and that you want. It's on our shoulders because, as you stated in the first podcast, you said generation, and it's not generation, but you have somebody that's in his 30s.
No, he's in his 20s. This is
20. No, you got 20.
Yeah,
you got
my 40s.
You got 50s, and I'm in my 60s. So it's not generational. It's just we are different decades within. We've seen things in a different way. But when you think about it, this took place long before Garvey. Garvey is just an extension of all the stuff that happened prior to it.
Now it's headed towards trying to discredit Farrakhan.
No, that's been going on for 40 years.
I mean, they've been trying to discredit, but
Elijah Muhammad is when you had the devil, the blue-eyed devil.
But in the conscious community, it was pretty much as if Farrakhan was like the conscious rudder, and all of the other whatever beliefs they had, belief systems, they kind of ran concurrent with what he was saying. But this last Savior's Day, he comes out with the traditional speak of the Nation of Islam, and everything that went haywire, like, I still love my white daddy. And it's all went haywire all of a sudden, and now everyone is talking against Farrakhan in a negative way.
Except for the followers.
And he is except for the followers, but he is our moral rudder Still, when we can always count on him to come out and speak the
Gotta
truth.
examine it though. Let's go back to what the youth is saying, and we're talking about General Seti and
That's
young
a general-
Pharaoh,
that's right.
because they may not be familiar. What they're pointing at, and I believe it needs to be examined under the context of today, which is what the kids have. They're saying that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is now we know historical facts, and I'm not defaming the individual because I do respect what he has done with the organization, but unfortunately, what the young people are saying on these two gentlemen or some of the platforms, that perhaps we should not have followed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because in fact he was guilty or could be perceived guilty of doing some things that are not in the Quran in terms of the infidelity, the adultery, and then making children that he did not become responsible to by marrying them. He made his comparative to him being David. David married those women in the Bible. But what he's saying is because of Honorable Elijah Muhammad's transgressions with these children that forced Malcolm out of the Nation of Islam and separated, ultimately leading to Malcolm's death, that perhaps we need to re-examine why did we follow Elijah Muhammad, because those should be punishable things under the mantra of what he had in terms of Muslim ideology. And then in addition to that, we would look at that now.
But you gotta
some of
look
those
at-
young ladies were still minors.
But then, if you're looking at, if you take into consideration or thought, then you look at not all our black leaders, but a series of them. Wasn't there indiscretion with Martin?
Yes.
With
it's just-
Jesse. So now, if
but
you start
Jen-
discounting,
you should.
all of these individuals, because you look at the things that they did, and I'm not supporting those wrongs, but I'm looking at the rights that they did. You have to measure that, because one thing could take you down, as we see what's going on now. One thing could take
But
you
it
down.
shouldn't have taken you down
No,
back
wait
then?
a minute now. If I remember correctly, speaking of David looked down, saw Bathsheba, said, I'm going to send her husband to the front line to get killed. And he took her.
Right.
He was still blessed by God. God still saw him as the one the line would come through.
Well, who says that the Bible is actually the book of fact of
I'm
record?
just
So
saying, that if you're saying
Right.
David,
We need to
then
examine
you got to
it.
examine it and
Correct.
say, well, he had clay feet like David had.
Well,
clay
maybe
feet.
that's the
And
reason-
in the end, even Solomon had clay feet in the end.
But maybe that's the reason
And once he
those
became
books.
an older man, he had
Understood,
clay
but
feet.
they're not major figures now, factoring into today's youth,
But
even in
when
religion.
But it's all about religion and using those passages in the Bible and the Holy Quran and the Torah
Mm-hmm.
to go and build this story that people are following, right?
Right.
So if those people were seen in the eyes of God as still being blessed and still being in leadership, then who are we to judge what
But that's what he's
Elijah
saying.
Muhammad did?
That's what these guys are saying. We should judge that in today's context with retrospective view that unfortunately would remove the leadership of Mr. Farrakhan
But now-
because they're saying that based on those ideologies that we went this way when we could have examined and gone the other way and supported Malcolm because the things that they're saying, these transgressions now. Look at Harvey Weinstein and
Well,
all
now
these
they
guys
don't-
being bumped out. Look at our own fake
But you're
congressman
saying
who
this younger
killing.
generation, he that cast the stone, what is that saying?
He who cast the first stone should be without sin.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and you quoting cats that did time, they did wrong, and we're gonna listen to somebody. What is that credibility?
That's my thought process.
What's that credibility that they
It's
all of a
like-
sudden they got the answer?
But
Just because you was in a cell, your ass had to get the answer. You had no answer. You could have got the answers in your mouth and in your back. And so,
Well, hopefully there were minimal security prisons.
We got CeeMo sitting here stunned and quiet. What's your thought? What's your take
I'm
on it?
absorbing, man. All I hear is, skeletons. Everybody got some sort of
hey,
skeleton.
that's just it's not without doubt.
Skeletons.
I don't want to shoot nobody down, but watch out where you shooting, that it don't ricochet and get you in the ass.
Well, that'd be 6 to 12, and no, let me stop.
Because if you look at it, people so dope, they killed people, right? People did prostitutes, they killed those prostitutes. I mean, it would be true. So no one's the people who are speaking against Farrakhan right now. And as far as I know, Farrakhan hasn't had any necessary transgressions other than he might have been speaking against Malcolm, but he didn't pull the trigger on Malcolm, right?
Well, as he admitted himself, he may have helped set the climate that created the era led to his assassination.
But what does
thing-
Sarnetta say about that when he was speaking to someone that was arguing that point with him? He said that, that was your teacher that brought you from out of darkness and brought you in. I don't like that.
It's
word,
what you're gonna
darkness,
believe, whatever you
because it's
believe
always
in.
right? But you would go and protect your person, just like a person that's in a gang or in a crew of people. You're gonna protect that person and step against people who
Well,
do something against that person.
and I gotta run because I gotta get to the mosque. But the thing is that you have to look at is what the truth of what it'll be is to what we'll see in that legacy that when Minister Farrakhan is no longer with us, and in his voyage to paradise, what is going to proceed to be? What is the nation going to take on then? Will they take and then will the new person that leads that organization, will he say like, well, no, he can't do it because he was under the diligence of Minister Farrakhan. When is it going to stop? At some point, you got to slow the train down, halt it, and move it out in another direction. But now the direction you have to look at, as you say, you got to study, do your homework. Like when you went overseas to Egypt.
Yes, sir.
You saw new things. It broadened your perspective, made you question things.
Definitely.
So the same thing we do that search, but don't be knocking down and destroying these structures of individuals. Yes, they did wrong, and I can't endorse nothing wrong. I've done wrong, but at the same time, look at what they've done. What other black person has been able to do such that Mr. Farrakhan did with the Million Man March? That will always be, in my mind, the high point of my generation. There's nothing. Jesse couldn't do it when they had the march on Washington. That didn't do it. But look at somebody that was scorned so bad as in Minister Louis Farrakhan in 1995 and what he did.
That'd be about 2
Well, I would only say just what Seti and these guys said. Made a lot of money off that. Where'd it go?
Hey, money is money. Money is...
Yeah, I ain't faulting it. I was there. It was a beautiful day,
He
beautiful
released
experience.
his new 20 CD set of music with artists. You know,
Talking about
leaving
Minister
his-
Farrakhan.
Yeah, leaving his legacy behind musically for the people with the message within the music. That's one thing. You got to look at it.
I'm with it. But why is he taking us to Scientology? You got to ask him that.
One last
I
thing
just
before
wanna
you go
say-
to the mosque,
Yeah.
and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
There's when the Elijah Muhammad went in will to will and went to where he went.
The Wonder Woman.
There was a split, right? There was the son, and then there was the heir apparent, which was Farrakhan, who Farrakhan said that Elijah Muhammad chose him, and then they
No,
went different ways. Wait, no, okay, well, I'll let you
No,
explain.
because
I'm
he was
just
over
saying
the
what he's
nation.
saying.
No, he was over. His son was over the
Wallace,
nation.
right.
Yeah, Wallace was over the nation.
Right, but he says that he sat in the white throne, and Elijah Muhammad told him. Now that's in a speech, but I mean, let's just look at it real quick.
Okay.
So there's a split here. Now he had the choice to go and say that Elijah Muhammad was actually the savior and that he actually did not die. Now, when God forbid it's a long time from now, but when Farrakhan finally does pass and go home, will people, will the next person that comes in, will there be a schism again? And then people say, well, let's leave the divine Elijah Muhammad to the wayside and move more in a traditional form of Islam? Or will then it become that the son has gone home to the father, like what Farrakhan was alluding to in the Savior's Day program that just passed? Which one will it be? Will they also deify Farrakhan and say that he actually did not die but went to a place where he can be accessed?
I don't follow the teachings of
Okay.
the nation, so I can't answer that.
Okay.
You know, I just read their publications and so forth to try to stay abreast of their mindset, so I can understand. And the brothers that's here at Mosque number 111.
No, that's the NAACP Mosque number 75.
Excuse me.
Under the leadership of Minister
Not my numbers,
Duke.
not the numbers mixed up, but you know, to have dialogue with them and understanding their proposition on what it is. But I just always say, looking at what is the legacy that's going to translate when somebody go, and for so many times in so many ways as black people, we still look for that one person to be our leader. And the day and time has come where that's not relevant anymore. We need leaders. You can have one God, but you can have leaders.
Is that why you got
Like-
13 people running for Ward
Will
5
there
seats?
be-
11.
wait a minute,
13.
Will there be a schism?
I think there'll be, you have several different student ministers now that speak, and they they speak very well. They know the Quran. They know how to fire up the people and so forth. So it'll be up to the people to decide to how they vote, or what is their mode of operation to choosing a new leader and how it would go. So, whether somebody say, they've been divined by God and so forth, it'll be up to the people to decide where you want to go, who you want to go with, because that was even like when the nation, like we said, Wallace, when he was over the Nation of Islam before his father passed away in 1975, when he took over, he was in charge of the nation, and it splintered off where people wanted, because they still needed that power of captains and so forth, and Wallace was more about the orthodox of Islam, and that was one of the things that Elijah pressed upon Wallace and his other sons, was to learn Arabic and the Quran. So looking at that, that's how it looks. It could be a splinter, it could break off. It breaks off. Look how many sects of Christianity do you have? And it's supposed to be one Jesus. Okay. So
and I just want to rebuttal on the conversation that I just took in right now. So it's just crazy. I'm thinking about this. It's crazy how us as a people, how we react or think when we come to a crossroads with something that we believe or been believing in wholeheartedly, and then tomorrow we hear about that one bad thing about our what we believed in. So it's just really crazy how these people are at a crossroads. Now they have to choose a side. Kendrick Lamar had a song called Mortal Man, and it's my favorite quote from it. It says, "When ish hit the fan, are you still a fan? When ish hit the fan, are you still a fan?" So basically, like, be ready to have things or people you believe in. Be ready for some skeletons, and you gotta either accept it, just be ready for it. Accept it or not, be ready for it, and then you.
That's it. The duality of man. Everybody got the other side.
Close us out, Franklyn.
Well, as you know, we're sitting here again, breaking it down, making it plain, putting it for you. We got the brothers in the house, Mr. Ramon Savoy, the past editor and
Our
publisher.
Special guest putting
Special
down
guest.
knowledge,
Yes.
Right.
bringing knowledge to this.
Before he goes
That's
to the
incredible.
mosque,
Thanks,
Mr.
sir.
Ramon Savoy, as I said, editor and publisher of the Past Sentinel Voice newspaper here, community figure, part of the fabric, one of the original drummers here at Power 88 KCEP FM, where we're being blessed to shoot this in the Like It Is radio and the Breakdown studio. You see Albie Shaw in the back. This is the People Station. This is how we do it. Again, we don't have a name, but we're sitting here with Crazy D, my man CeeMo, your man Franklyn G, after the jizzle. We just gonna keep on calling it.
We got a name.
We got a name?
Crazy D got a name.
Nothing but the fact.
Nothing but
you
the
been
fact.
saying that out your mouth, and that
Crazy D
fits.
got a name for
People
it.
are loving nothing but the fact.
Well, then there you have it. Nothing but the facts. Volume 2. We're going to keep it going.
Yes.
We'll get back at you real soon. And remember, it's important that we dialogue. You don't have to have a podcast, but hopefully the podcast will spur you to want to talk about some of the things that we just had the encounter to talk about. And get your publications. You can get the Farrakhan, Finest, Final Call, or you can get my man. Hold on. You know how we do it. Live radio right here with my man, the Urban Voice. Now, there's another publication. We just don't have it.
What's up?
Just leave it.
We gotta leave it? This is what we got? This is what we got?
Just leave it.
All right, this is what we got. And, inside of both of these
Well,
publications,
we'll
they
talk
try
about
to...
that after Savoy departs.
Yeah, we'll get another thing, because that's Vegas.
Don't forget. Bark at us, and we're gonna bark back at you.
Oh, I like that.
Stay tuned.